Welcome to the Highland Park Update Schools Edition. It's September 12th, 2016, and it is the second week of school, so we're really excited to have Dr. Scott Taylor once again as our guest. Dr. Taylor, thank you so much for being with us. As many of you watching and as many residents, even without kids in the school, have probably noticed that there's been a lot more activity in town with the start of the 2016-2017 academic year. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Thank you for having us, and welcome back. Just generally, as somebody with kids in the district, I kind of stand in awe of the teachers and the administrators and everything, and just how everything is orchestrated with back to school. How'd the first week of school go?
That was great. It was great. By all accounts, I mean, we've heard great things from parents, kids who I see at Rite Aid, Stop and Shop, our teachers. We had a wonderful kickoff. Our teachers came in for 3 days and engaged in professional development. The first day was all about inspiration. We wanted to pump those teachers back up and make sure that they hit the ground running, thinking very positively and excitedly about the school year, and they did. We had Eric LeGrand, paralyzed ex-Rutgers football player, motivational speaker, come. He got a standing ovation, must have been at least 3 minutes. Teachers were very impacted by his story. The takeaway was that no matter what the challenges our teachers may face this year or our kids may face, you can overcome those challenges if you work really hard, you keep a positive attitude, and you persist. After that day, our teachers took part in other workshops, including one conducted by Dr. Stephanie Sazzo, who is a local expert in working with kids who are transitioning from one gender to another or who are currently transgender. She was also one of the writers of our policy. She spent an hour and a half with our teachers, support staff, leadership team. We had about 200 people in the auditorium, and she opened a lot of people's eyes about the experiences that kids who are experiencing transition or who are currently transgender experience. And then she took questions from staff. We even developed a frequently asked questions list that we posted online for our teachers. There will be a follow-up, I should add, there'll be a follow-up information night for parents in October. More to come about that, but we'll have a panel of experts, including Dr. Sazzo, I'll be on that panel, to speak at night with the community about our transgender policy. So if there are questions, that'll be a great venue to ask them.
That's terrific. And I didn't mean to just say that I'm back to school. You're back to school too, because you are obviously a father with children in the district too. So that's terrific that the transgender policy is taking shape so quickly, and that there is a district-wide discussion on how that policy manifests itself in the district.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people are going to be happy to hear that.
In fact, since that policy has been in effect, we've had at least 4 students, of whom I'm aware, K-12, who have reached out for support.
Wow.
And what I tell people who have questions about the policy, who may have differences with our opinion about the policy, bottom line is my faculty and staff are in the business of making all kids feel safe and protected. And I can't argue with their feelings. We have to respect their feelings, respect their families' and guardians' feelings, and then do what we can to make them feel comfortable and safe when they're in our classrooms.
Excellent. Another policy area where the district has been working is in restorative practices. And I know you had we had spoken a lot about that last year, about how students are disciplined and under what conditions they're disciplined, and disciplinary equity. Can you talk a little bit about what's been going on this year?
So glad you asked that question. So our Pathway to Excellence, our district strategic plan, has listed as its first focus area, there are 4 focus areas, its first focus area, addressing the issue of educational equity and also promoting social emotional health in our kids. And inherent in that first focus area is a goal that has us looking at the way we treat kids who are consistently truant, who might goof off, on the bus, in the hall, in the classroom, or do more serious damage to the educational process, fight, bring something they shouldn't bring to school. We're looking for ways in that first goal, the first focus area, to help kids through whatever challenges they might be experiencing that have led to those misbehaviors, as opposed to just punitively responding to their misbehavior. So the traditional disciplinary model would have you suspending a student if he or she does something wrong. Following a very strict and regimented code of conduct that has specific consequences that are often punitive in nature. Restorative practice is a way of looking at the whole child and addressing children's needs that have been the underlying reasons for their behavior problems. And so, for instance, we've already taken in the past last week, to revising our truancy letters. Parents whose children were truant 7 times, and then again another letter would be triggered 10 times or more, would receive a form letter that threatened judges would be involved, and the court system would be involved. We cited compulsory education law by statute, 18A, in the letter. That was that's an old mindset. It's a traditional mindset. It's a traditional way that's really passé now of how we help kids come to school on time and come to school regularly. So now our letters speak more to reaching out to parents and guardians about how we could help to uncover what might be anxiety, school anxiety, or some other distraction that's challenging the child from coming to school on time and for a duration of a whole day. So that's just one example of how we've already incorporated restorative practice in our program. The last thing I'll say, though, about that is a small team that's connected to the strategic planning group that met in late June is going to be meeting with an in-town expert who is a professor at Rutgers whose specialty is discipline equity. And she's going to be helping us implement the action steps in our Pathway to Excellence, our strategic plan, more effectively. That's going to happen next week. We'll be having that meeting.
That strategic planning session that you mentioned was not even 3 months ago, so that's really impressive that the district's really already moving forward with that
set of plans.
Yeah, it's terrific. Let me just follow up on that quickly, because it sounds like that's really where the policy area is moving, is toward a more individualized approach to discipline. I don't know if that's the
very much so.
way to phrase it, and to take all types of considerations and to take actions in context. As an administrator, we have a fairly small district, I guess, but certainly not unique in New Jersey as far as small towns are concerned. How difficult is it to implement? Is it easier to implement something like this in a district like Highland Park than it would be in a larger district?
I can't.
And I guess I'm asking because can something like that really serve as a model for other areas?
Well, look, I have never. This is actually second largest district in which I've worked. I was an assistant principal and a principal in Manalapan, which is a very large district. Yeah. But you're talking many years ago. So I have a hard time comparing small to large in this case. However, I'll tell you that if we do this right, and I have a feeling we will, because my entire leadership team is on board with this plan to incorporate restorative practices. And I think we'll have the teachers on board as well, intrinsically. I think what will end up happening at the end of the year is we can be a model for other school districts that are looking to, regardless of their size, change the culture of a school district, in that we will have to first here change the way we think about discipline, and then actually make those changes. And changing culture is challenging regardless of the size of a school district. If we can do that effectively, change the way we think about helping kids when they misbehave, I think other districts can model that. And there are some districts that are doing that. I think our plan is ambitious. We're looking at a wholesale change to the way we respond to discipline here. K-12, not just the middle school or the high school. We're talking about across the board.
Is it typically in other districts? Are these types of changes typically middle and high? And
Yes,
high school?
yes.
Okay. That's terrific. Well, that's terrific then. So
But hey,
it's off at the-
we want to inculcate this way of thinking and doing early, so that our kids expect to be treated certain ways when they come out of Irving and out of Bartle into the middle and high school.
and just to kind of segue from there, to set parental expectations just regarding questions beyond discipline. I understand that there are some changes in staffing that provide some more access to answering questions from parents. And you talked about supervisors. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, yes, many changes are in place, and some of them will directly impact parents, including the additions to our leadership team. We now have 2 supervisors who are specialists in certain fields. One in the humanities field, more so in the English language arts than social studies and world language, and then another expert who's actually a science teacher, ex-technology integration specialist, and also has a background in math. These are the folks who I strongly recommend, members of our community who have questions that are content specific, questions about the literature we're teaching with, or questions about our approach to science education, or ideas they may have about ways they can contribute their expertise to improving our language, social studies, math, technology, and world language programs. They now can go to these specific supervisors. Suzanne Ackley, who can be reached by email by going to the district website. Suzanne Ackley is our supervisor for humanities, and Dr. Christina Nicosia, who is our STEM supervisor, science, tech, engineering, and math. So I strongly recommend that the community first reach out to these specialists if they have questions about curriculum, about programs, or if they have ideas that they want to share. When I was here last year, I started October 1st, so I'm coming up to my first year in about 2 weeks. I had all kinds of people coming out of the woodwork to offer great ideas. A lot of scientists at Rutgers who had ideas about the Waxman program at Rutgers. We had some physicists in town who were more than willing to facilitate workshops for our teachers. And I did the best I could to take advantage of those opportunities. Just didn't have enough time to reach out to everybody. Now we have these people who those folks can reach out to directly, Dr. Nicosia and Ms. Ackley.
Maybe I can just ask, and then even more generally, because again, as someone who stands in awe of just the entire operation of the first week of school, what are the types of challenges that you frequently face, on the first week back? I imagine a lot of them are logistic, have to do with general mobility, but can we just talk a little bit about the big picture of getting back to school?
So there are 2 things that we usually confront right away. Kids who have separation anxiety, parents who have separation anxiety, especially at the early grades, and scheduling problems. Knock on wood, we did really well this year. Don't know what it was, but it seemed like we had far fewer criers, in our early childhood school and at Bartle. I think it has something to do with the warm, welcoming reception that our families got from our staff. There's a real positive vibe in the school district right now. I was outside Bartle when Bartle families were dropping off their kids on the first day, and outside was our guidance counselor and principal, Mr. Benjamin, with blue pom-poms. Yes. And all kinds of fun quotes on signs. I mean, that's the kind of vibe we're seeing across the district. Right. So I think that's contributed to us making things that much smoother for in the transition for kids to come back to school. Scheduling problems have normally been challenges for us, but this year, except for some glitches here and there, really were pretty smoothed out. I have to thank a couple of people in particular, Chris Brzezowski, Mr. Lassiter, our high school principal, Ms. Osemier, Ms. Brady, who came together in early summer and banged out a schedule that was really Loctite at the middle and high school. Now, at the middle school, we've changed our schedule. So we experienced some hiccups, but we are seeing the new programs we built into the middle school, including our GROW program, based on Stephen Covey's 7 Habits for Highly Effective Teenagers, our new creative writing program as a result of the change in our middle school schedule, and our new 8th grade virtual high school program, which I can talk about at a future session of ours. They're going exceedingly well. In fact, the demand for the virtual high school, some of our viewership may be aware of, exceeded our expectations.
That's terrific, and we would like to follow up on that. I would imagine, and just to stay on that, I would imagine that Highland Park the roads are narrow, and a lot of people walking, a lot of people riding bikes, a lot of people driving. That it's important for the district to really intersect with public safety here in town. How do you work in tandem to make sure that things go smoothly? Because I just wanted to add that my experience, I do not pretend to speak on behalf of everybody, but my experience at Irving and at Bartle were very good.
Well, local traffic is a problem. I know, my commute's 5 blocks, but it still takes me 15 minutes to get to work because I'm dropping off my middle schooler and my high schooler, and by the time I get through all the local traffic, it's 15 minutes later. I'm not complaining because I still love the commute. However, it reflects another challenge we have, which I didn't share, and that's getting to and from, especially when it's inclement weather, rainy days. So it's a good question and it's a very timely question because we do have some folks in town who are part of a county organization that's looking to improve bicycle safety and also foster more bicycle travel to school and encourage more kids to take their bikes to school, especially at Bartle, middle and high school. What we've done at Bartle is we've actually redid the front area of the school, and we just installed 2 large bike racks that will allow kids to bike to school. We hadn't done that before on as big a scale. And we also, 3 weeks ago, not we so much as this organization to which I refer, Trish Sanchez and Peter Bilton were responsible for really facilitating this activity. The organization 3 weeks ago conducted the first ever in the state of its kind bicycle safety assessment for getting kids from home to school here in town. First time it's been done. They actually brought out people from around the county. We had a brief introduction to the activity, and then a bunch of folks got on bikes, traveled the roads, assessed the feasibility of using the roads for bicycles, how safe these roads were, and then reported back. And in about, another couple of weeks, likely from the airing date of our interview, I'll receive the report, and then we're going to try to use some grants, we being the district as well as the borough, to improve bike lanes and other things that we identified.
So this is part of a town-wide effort for access, but specifically the schools, you're looking at access. You're looking at bicycle access during peak school hours, I guess. Right?
Correct. Okay. So we'll be looking at things, and I'm sure the assessment will show for this, like the width of the bike lanes on some of the major roads that are traveled, the safety of bikes once they're locked up here at our schools. And so I'll be taking stock with that report, and then we'll work with Mayor Mittler and the town council to try to move forward. Which I have to say, just as a sidebar, is another example of how wonderful the relationship's been between the borough and the school district. I have monthly meetings with Mayor Mittler, our board president Simarusti, and council president Welkowitz. And at those meetings, we have check-ins. We talk about how we could pool resources, and we had not done that quite as far as I'm aware of prior years, but we've started doing that last year, and it's the fruits of our labor, as you can see, include this bicycle assessment and hopefully subsequent changes.
Well, that's all for today, Dr. Taylor. It sounds like you have a lot on your plate for back to school, so we'll leave you alone and so you can get back to work. But we really look forward to speaking with you in a couple weeks to revisit some of the issues that you discussed and some other important things facing the district. Thank you so much for your time. And that's all for now for another edition of the Highland Park Update Schools Edition. I'm Matthew Hirsch, and we'll see you next time.